it now. We've talked an awful lot about London, the ULEZ under Sadiq Khan's mayoralty, but many other city councils are following suit. I've been saying that for years. I think technical term, I've been banging on about it for years, that once London does something, it happens everywhere else. And we've seen it in many other cities. Well, the latest city council to rake in thousands of pounds in profits from its low emission zone is Glasgow. The council has made almost £500,000 from drivers with the most polluting vehicles in its first 4 months alone. Joining me now is co-founder of the Together Declaration, Alan Miller. Good morning to you, Alan.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much. We first came across each other when we were sort of campaigning to sort of get, social life back and pubs and bars and restaurants open in the lockdown period. And you've widened this campaign to so many different issues about sort of civil liberties, just people's individual rights to go about their daily lives. And this has become a campaign against ULEZ and other low-emission zones has become a really pivotal argument, low-traffic neighbourhoods and the like. And this is spreading, I mean, like a virus almost, across the country as city council after city council has gone, oh, there's money to be made. Glasgow's just the latest, isn't it?
Absolutely, Julia. Well, our new report with Ben Pyle covers a lot of this because actually, whilst it's absolutely true that ULEZ and Sadiq Khan, who is the chair of C40 Cities, that is underwritten by very wealthy billionaires, including Mike Bloomberg. But Mike Bloomberg and Mr. Cohen are two of the individuals of 4 billionaires that are funding UK 100, which the majority of local authorities have signed up to. They're activists that are seeking to limit, restrict and control on the basis of saying it's about clean air. Yeah. And actually, as we know from Glasgow and from Edinburgh, that allegedly these zones are meant to improve air quality, pollution has gone up by 10% in the first 2 months that they were actually tested. The thing that's really going up a lot as well is the money that is coming in from them, as we know. And this is restrictive, it's limiting, and we've not had a proper democratic debate and discussion about this, about the costs, the benefits, the lack of mobility, the ability for women to move around at night without extra charges, the fact that all sorts of people, disabled people, there's charges incumbent on them. Businesses, small, medium-sized enterprises who are disproportionately harmed during lockdowns. All of these things are having an enormous effect. Yeah.
And you're right when you say we're not having a democratic debate about it, but actually when they have had public consultations, as they had in London about expanding the Eurozone, they just fix it. They say, oh, we won't accept all these submissions from this particular group. We'll ignore that. They fix the numbers. We've got Sadiq Khan in London just, spouting this absolute nonsense all the time about the number of people he claims completely falsely. I mean, it's complete lies, total disinformation, deliberate lying. There's no way he's not clever enough to know he's lying about, how the number of people who are dying from pollution. I mean, it's just made up nonsense. And a complete, just completely just trying to sort of pull the wool over people's eyes. And we see this again and again, that it's all about saving lives. It's all about clean air. All the stats show our air in every single city, other than what's been happening with this zone in Glasgow, is actually air is cleaner than it's ever been in the last year, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 100 years. It's cleaner and cleaner. People are not in any numbers at all dying from this pollution level. But also, if the whole point of this is to stop polluting vehicles going into city centres, why are these councils making so much money from it? Because by definition, if it's about stopping the cars going in, surely they should just be banned entirely, not saying if you've got enough money to pay for the extra cost, you can drive it in, not a problem.
Absolutely. And that's why Together's just recently done a big event in Edinburgh. We've got another one coming up in Glasgow. It's interesting that in Birmingham, the council that's failed, they actually have had over 50,000 residents challenge their clean air zone charges, and they've had their appeals upheld. Yeah. As you say, when they do their so-called consultations, we've seen this in Oxford, we've seen this in Bath, they don't go out to everyone. The ones they do go to, they ignore the responses and they carry on. And partly this is because it's underwritten by a few billionaires, and the alleged grassroots campaigns are actually activists that have been funded by these billionaires. Yep. It's the fact that also MPs and councillors aren't getting an accurate picture because the research is dominated by a few of these billionaires as well. In actual fact, it's significantly more than is ever spent on any of the national elections here by the major political parties.
This
It's spent every year.
And you mentioned this report by Ben Pyle, and in fact, I think we were going to have him on the show until we had sort of breaking news about Suella Braverman and David Cameron, and unfortunately didn't get to talk to him. But you mentioned C4 Cities and UK 100. These sort of strange organisations that these public bodies are signed up to. They pay money, by the way. They go to the summits and everything. And as you say, they're funded by these incredibly wealthy billionaires, all of whom live in numerous very expensive homes with all the lights and all the gadgets. They travel everywhere by private jet, gas-guzzling Range Rover. But they want to stop the rest of us from being able to, well, just basically travel around our own local neighbourhood. And I think they're telling us anyway, that it's about saving lives and saving the planet. And yet they don't walk the walk themselves, which tells us that they don't really believe it. So why are they doing it?
Well, absolutely. Well, I think the thing is, it's become an ideological fervour. Some of them are making some money out of it, but generally, it's stifling and limiting productivity in the economy. If you look at ESG, those three letters, which represent environmental, social and governance, that has been an initiative that was led by Mr. Cohn, by Mark Carney as well, and Bloomberg. That's now being implemented across the board in private and public sector, which means businesses are limited and stifled. They're ideologically imposed things. It's also one of the reasons why people like Nigel Farage have been debanked, because that's the criteria that all sorts of our private companies, banks, organisations are using to assess and evaluate things, not doing the work they're meant to be doing. Yeah. So on the one hand, it's deadening the economy, it's limiting capitalism, it's limiting investment and a dynamic wealth creation. And at the same time, a few people are raking in from it. Much more worrying as well, Julia, is alongside this.
I'm going to have to leave it there. They're shouting in my ear.
Okay.
We'll have to leave it. Thank you so much. Alan Miller from the Together Deck.